The Joe Rogan Experience.
And it does seem that that there is a particular, what do I want to say, a condemnation of male energy. Do you think it comes from a misunderstanding?
Yeah, and I also think it comes from a big generalization too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to do, right? And if you're a woman who's had negative experiences with men, maybe you've dated men that have been physically abusive, or maybe you've known men that have been physically abusive, and you're around that, and you just it's very convenient and very easy to just generalize and decide that all men are negative, and that masculine energy is negative, and especially white males. And if you say that, you'll get props online. People go, yes, girl, yes, clap, clap, clap. People get excited. But those are also people that are short-sighted. Like, you want to make as many people your ally as you can. You want to make as many people your friend as you can. And you have to understand that there's some people that are just wired different than you. There's some girly girls, and there's some really feminine men. And then there's some masculine men, but everybody is okay as long as they respect you and they're kind to each other. But the problem is we associate certain behaviors and characteristics with either negativity or hedonism or toxic masculinity, or someone being a bitch as a man. And these generalizations are often way more harmful, and it's just too convenient and easy and lazy.
Yeah, there is no simple way. And when I think about my own attitudes in this area, there is a degree of complexity, because I've got young daughters. I've got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, right? And they're, daughters. So, but when the other day, because I'm staying in Los Angeles, Gabby, she's Mexican. She used to be, when I first moved out here and lived my entourage lifestyle, she used to look after the house, and she used to think, oh, my baby, my baby. She loved me. So, and I'll take a matriarchal figure wherever I can find one. And Gabby used to look after me. She adored me and stuff. I stayed friends with her. Yesterday, she come around. She bought like what I can only describe as a bikini for my baby daughter. Now, what a 2-year-old doesn't need a bikini top. And excuse me, burping on the mic. I like it. For me, I thought, I don't want to put my daughter in that. That's sort of, in a way, sexualizing that child and coverage. So, and also a lot of the time, with my daughter, I don't with my wife, particularly with our first child. I'm like, don't dress her up in little dresses and stuff, because she won't be able to run around. And I thought, my God, that's not that different from the cliche of a male parent that wanted a son, and I didn't want a son, or in particular, I love this kid. I love this kid. It doesn't mean I love having a daughter, adore her, but I am aware that these things of dress a child this way, dress a girl this way, are constructs. Further to what we were talking about again before about Michel Foucault, we got a lot done before we went live, man. When we were talking about Michel Foucault, what he exposes a lot is that Gilles Deleuze, is that a lot of things that we take for granted as being normal are actually constructs. And when I say a child's bikini, I think there's no reason for any child of any sex or gender to be wearing a bloody bikini. Right. So a child with tits is a terrifying idea for all but a very small and terrifying percentage of the population. So that is an example of the external feminization of a child. So when there's an argument, a feminist argument of gender is a construct, I can see, oh yeah, to a point it is. There are constructs. You can't, in my opinion, you can't argue with biology. Chromosomes are doing what they're doing in the physical realm. Yeah. But being a father to a daughter has made me feel like I don't, obviously, and I know you have daughters, or at least three daughters. I'm certainly very aware of, I don't want to push them down some culturally prescribed avenue, whether it's about their dress, their sexuality, or anything. So I've got, where am I on that dial?
Yeah, you gotta just not put any pressure on them. And let them enjoy their life and let them find their path. That's what's weird, right? It's like I see people, they're getting their daughters to dress very, very feminine with little mini skirts and stuff, and they're 5 years old, and high heel shoes. I've seen little kids with high heel shoes. It seems very strange to me. I don't like it.
Yeah. But for me, that is being sourced from, we can extrapolate that to, well, then why should a 20-year-old woman wear high heels? I mean, I've read cultural analysis, I'm sure you have, of the lipstick is to emphasize the lips because it's redolent of the vagina. The high heels is to make a woman seem more vulnerable and to accentuate aspects of body shape. Now, this can be, seen as evidence of the influence of patriarchy. There's loads of areas where I feel like, why are we looking for shit to argue about in this area? We're just human beings. Most of us the most important people in our life are of a different gender or sex to us. Why are we looking for arguments? But you can see the influence of cultural forces that are, not neutral.
Yeah, you certainly can, but I think it should be up to the choice of the person once they're an adult. The real problem is putting pressure on them to dress one way or another and not letting them find their place. But if a woman becomes, whatever age you decide, and she wants to wear high heels and a skirt because she likes the way it looks, like there's nothing wrong with that either. And
no.
The demonization of sexuality is also a problem.
Yes.
It is almost as much of a problem as people who will prey upon vulnerable people. The people that think there's something wrong with being sexually attractive or something wrong with being desirable or wanting to be desirable. There's nothing wrong with that either. And that kind of suppression, the suppression of these feelings that you have and this desire that you have, is very unhealthy as well. It's a normal thing to want to be sexual. It's a normal thing to want to look good. If a girl looks good in a skirt and high heels, and she likes to dress like that, who the fuck is anyone to say there's anything wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with it. If that's what she likes, that's fine. What's interesting to me is, particularly in really progressive ideology, they look down upon women who wear short skirts and high heels and a lot of makeup and, open tops that show their boobs, because they think that they're playing into the patriarchy, or that they're somehow or another falling into these gender traps. But yet they celebrate that in transgender people. They celebrate that in trans men that transition to women, and then they really doll it up. Then they're like, "You go, girl." Then they're celebrating the fact that this person is embracing these traditional aspects of womanhood. Like, you see that a lot with people that are celebrating trans women. So I find very fascinating.
The aesthetics of the sort of what could be referred to as sexualized dress, or like I suppose in males, expressive or garish clothing, jewelry, tattoos. I understand in British culture that these are often indicators of class. That it's typically the lower down the class structure you are, the more likely you are to dress in a way that is exhibitive. Or women from a blue collar background dress in ways that are exposing and revealing. Men have leery cars and lots of tattoos and jewelry. Right. Expressive ways of demonstrating wealth. The higher you go up the class, the more subtle, the more dressed down. No labels, all that sort of stuff. So in British culture, there's a different system for referencing it. I wonder how that works in American culture, with its sort of its evident and much discussed racial divisions. Like certain things. It seems like a subtle way of condemning particular types of womanhood that may not just be sourced from dress this way for the male gaze. It can also be a way of saying dressing that way is an indication of a lower class background or of a particular type of ethnicity. There
could be that, but there's also the reality of males and females. There's a lot of fucking jealous people, and there's a lot of women that just don't have the type of physical body that looks good in a short skirt with high heels and a low cut shirt, and they don't like when they see it in other women because they're not comfortable with their own bodies. There's a reality of that. I mean, women get as much or more hate from women as they ever do from men, and particularly if women find you to be too overtly sexual with the way you dress or behave, that you're damaging male-female relationships. You're damaging the dynamic, particular office dynamics. If there's one girl in the office that likes to tramp it up, and she's and all the guys are paying attention to her, women will get mad at her.
I did an interview a while ago where I sort of talked about parenting our kids, me and my wife, how we parent our kids, and I said it goes, I have to be honest, my wife is much the more dominant parent. She's much more practical than I am, right? And stuff that got really negatively written about. People say she changes more diapers than I do and stuff, right? No, it's not like I don't change diapers or whatever. It's just my wife, regardless of our respective sexes, is the more efficient, dominant parent. She's much more likely with me, if my daughter goes, I want that chocolate, the answer from me is, oh yeah, all right. I can't bear to see the resistance, the emotional explosion. I concede much too early. I tap out very quickly with my 2-year-old. My wife is much more, no, let's play the long game. Let's bring up a child that's not governed by impulses like you. And I spoke, in fact, to that Gabor Mate, that expert on addiction. He's amazing. And he says, because of your own anxiety and pain from your own childhood, with no disrespect to my magnificent parents, you can't handle seeing your kid suffer. So you straight away, you bail and do what she wants and stuff. Now, so there's so much complexity in the reality of our personal little domestic relationship. And I'm certainly not saying, and everyone else should run their household in that manner as well. And so help me God, any man that changes it up, but the way it was reported is that's what happens, I think, in modern media, is they change what you say, then you have to defend what they said you said. And you think, well, that ain't what I meant. I'm not saying that because my wife is a woman, she should take more domestic. I'm just saying that in our household, she seems to have a set of attributes and characteristics that make her take control of that aspect of parenting. And it's like the desire to judge, condemn and object is the priority, as opposed to no one's looking to go, who cares, or what.